Hello my friends and welcome back to How to Beat Baldur's Gate Bosses. Hope you're all doing well. This is another part of my edited honor mode playthrough where we're going through and taking on every important boss in the game. I'm excited to get back to it. This is a really interesting boss fight, so as you can see we are here in the tunnel below the gnolls where we're going to fight Flyn. There are two ways that you can approach this boss, so I've decided to take the much harder one. If you approach from this direction, through the tunnel, you have to navigate through a series of traps, and then you end up in this boss fight from the low ground, without the opportunity to dominate the gnoll leader. If you approach from the path, the game gives you a prompt where you can dominate the gnoll leader and have Flyn attack their allies for a couple turns, but approaching from this direction, we don't get that prompt and have to fight them just straight up. We will get the assistance of these two little Zhentarim buddies who are going to be hurling fire, which is a blessing and a curse because they will be helping, they can distract the gnolls and stuff, but they will also cover the arena in fire and can really mess up our pathing and where we want to stand. Just to give you a quick overview of the builds, we have my main character who is a... Here we go. My main character who is a Great Old One Warlock, level 3, Lae'zel as a Battlemaster Fighter, Astarion as an Assassin Rogue, and Karlach as a Berserker Barbarian. You can see in previous videos in the series detailed guides to all these builds, but this will give you an overview of what we're working with. I have gone to do this fight directly after fighting the Paladins of Tyr, the fake Paladins of Tyr that Karlach's encounter gives you, because a lot of people mentioned this fight as being one of the other ones they really struggled with in the early game, and so I wanted to try it next. We've just short rested, so we are out of short rests for the day and have not long rested, but luckily this party, as currently composed, doesn't require a lot of long rest resources. I've got the game paused because these guys have actually started the fight without us, so as soon as we unpause it, we're going to have to run up and join the fight immediately before they just get overwhelmed and the gnolls get too close and our position becomes really untenable. But we do get to spend a turn pre-buffing, so I'm going to do that. Before we go into this fight, I'm going to cast Armor of Agathys. This means that our Warlock will have used one of her 2 spell slots for the day, so we will have a choice between Hunter's Mark or Darkness as our in the actual combat, or not the day, for the short rest. We'll have a choice between Hunter's Mark and Darkness for the actual combat. Darkness is primarily powerful later on in the game when you face a lot of ranged enemies, so I think we'll probably go with Hunter's Mark for this fight, but we're just going to see which we need. Of course, if things are looking really bad, I can always Misty Step right on out of there. Another pre-buff that we're going to do is we got the Paladin's sword, so you can see we're working with very little magical gear. We have the Paladin's sword from fighting the Paladins, and we have the Everburn blade. This is basically as early as you can possibly approach this encounter. Maybe you could hit it before doing the Paladins, but pretty much we're doing this fight as soon as you possibly can, so this is at the hardest possible point. I've moved the Everburn blade onto Karlach and the Paladin sword onto Lae'zel because this has a concentration day-long buff, which I'm going to cast, and Karlach will lose concentration on that as soon as she rages, because you can't concentrate on a spell while raging. And I'm going to go ahead and just give this to Lae'zel. With 19 AC, she's going to be very hard to hit, and so that can be quite useful. We can have her run out in front of our party and take aggro from the sort of backline gnolls. No pre-buffs for Karlach. I could use a soul coin, actually, and maybe I will, because I don't think Karlach is going to be a huge part of this playthrough, probably. So I'm actually just going to spend a soul coin because this is going to be one of the harder fights that we do with her in the party, since later on I think we're going to be replacing her with Shadowheart, and this current playthrough is just out of spells right now, though. So I'm going to go ahead and use that, getting the Infernal Fury buff, so she gets a little bit of extra damage while raging. Then we have Astarion, who has no pre-buffs needed. He does have notable items for him, or a couple special arrows, but in this playthrough, we haven't long rested, we haven't chopped, so we are doing these with minimal resources. And that's one of the things that I want to do with this playthrough, is have minimal resource usage while going into these boss fights, and approach them as though as much as possible, as though I've never seen these fights before. Some of the feedback I got on the Paladin fight was like, oh, this Paladin fight's easy, all you have to do is go in ahead of time, break every ladder, and all of that sort of stuff. And that's true if you know that fight is coming in that way, but most players, the first time they encounter that fight, will not be able to do every single thing that you need to do in advance. So what we're doing instead is approaching these fights honorably, for honor mode, as though we don't know what's coming. Alright, let's go into the battle. So Astarion has coated his weapon in poison. I could throw the poison and make a pool and dip everyone's weapons. That just seems like a lot of hassle. I'm going to have him also hide before we engage in combat. And then let's exit turn-based mode, run forward with my main character, and talk to these guys. Waiting a little bit. I was hoping that my guys would catch up a little bit. I could have moved them separately, but...
Get over here and help! If we don't deal with them gnolls, none of us are getting out of here alive.
So he's going to yell at us, and then we can try to persuade him to give us some money. Why not? Seems good to me.
Fine. Money's useless to dead men. There.
Ooh, he hands us money immediately. I don't think I've ever taken that option before. Alright, and we have a moment to move up, and now we move over here, and then the fight will start as soon as we get into range. Here we go. Initiative is rolled. The gnolls are all running forwards because we rolled a bunch of initiative, and we got attacked immediately, so this is because I have Astarion selected. So I need him to enter the combat. We're going to have him kill the hunter. It's really annoying that this keeps happening. Alright. Alright, so I actually had to pause the recording briefly just to deal with something that had come up. Don't worry, I didn't, reload a save or anything. This is honor mode, so that's not an option. But what happened there is actually one of my least favorite things that Baldur's Gate does, because Astarion, who was hidden, was not yet in the combat, meaning that the enemies, from his perspective, were operating in real time. I wasn't fast enough to click his attack, which actually required APM in order to do. Required fast reflexes in order to do that. And so when the gnolls took their turns, they were able to spot him before he could enter combat because they were operating in real time, or from his perspective, the combat was operating in real time. Unfortunately, this does mean that we are starting this fight at a significant disadvantage compared to where we should have been, because Astarion did not get to use his Assassin Rogue feature, meaning he missed out on an attack, but I guess this just makes the fight that much more honorable. Time to strike. And Lae'zel took a barrage of arrows, pretty much all of which hit because we lost initiative. That's just the danger of losing initiative, and has ended up at very low health. This means she also lost concentration on Tyr's protection, so is now down to 17 AC rather than 19 AC. This means that we actually are in a much rougher position than we should have been had I correctly hit had I hit Astarion's button fast enough, we'd be in a better position for this fight, but we're just going to have to recover from a slightly bad situation here. So, to start off, what I'm going to do is have Astarion back up. I don't really want him to walk into the acid. I could have him move over to here and hide. This should be a shadowed area. I also want him on the high ground if possible. So, can I get him up to here? The game seems to think that this is possible. Sometimes this type of movement will be a little buggy, so I'm hoping he does make it up the ladder correctly. Because when you're moving at the exact maximum range of your characters, sometimes it can be a little bit buggy. Looks like he actually even had a couple feet of movement left. So then we are going to have him cunning action hide. But unfortunately, because he was in their line of sight, his hide failed. And we don't have a sneak attack available unless I move Lae'zel into melee. Which I'm hesitant to do because she's so low. So I think Astarion is going to have to settle for making a non-sneak attack. And we will have him shoot at the hunters, who are ranged enemies. Miss, and then back off. This could be going better, I would say, so far. We will have him switch to his melee weapons. Then Lae'zel is going to go ahead and use Second Wind, because she's hurting. Get out of the acid. I'm going to move her a little ways forward. We didn't have the opportunity to use her bonus action to jump out of the acid, so she's received the acid effect. Her armor class is now only going to be 15. And then I'm just going to have her take a shot because I don't want to run too far forward. We are on the low ground, so this is a disadvantage shot, but this is just going to be... oh, alright, fair enough. If we get a critical hit, that makes up for some of the ways the game has kind of messed things up for us. So I'm just going to have her stay here, re-equip her melee weapon, and pass her turn. Because I think what we're going to end up doing, this guy's going to dash forward, catch himself on fire. Succeed on a saving throw against Soul Offering, that's pretty nice. Because I think what we're actually going to end up doing is, I said I wasn't going to use Darkness, I think we are going to use Darkness in this fight. So I'm going to have Karlach run up and fire her crossbow, also at disadvantage. Or also with the low ground penalty. Critical miss, fair enough. And then she's going to enter a frenzy. She attacked an enemy even though she missed, so she won't lose frenzy immediately. And then I'm going to place a darkness spell here. This does blind both Karlach and Lae'zel, or Karlach and, Karlach and Lae'zel, but they're not able to be attacked by the gnolls from outside the darkness. And then I could use a Potion of Speed to allow my character to start firing Eldritch Blasts if I want to do that this turn. I think that's okay. Let's just pass the turn. So now we're probably going to take a little bit of damage on Astarion, who's not in the darkness. But he is at least...
The pack leader's mind clamps onto yours. You see yourself through gnolls, see your whole world as a meal. As the symbol glows, power courses through you. Authority.
Interesting. So I did not know that we would still get this,
Very deep.
get this trigger when approaching from this direction. I've never had this happen before. I guess the Gnoll boss has not gotten close enough. Also, of course, we've gotten Astarion, who doesn't have the wisdom who doesn't have an awful lot of wisdom here, as the leader in this dialogue, because it just picks somebody at random, pretty much, or whoever is closest. That being said, I'm just going to stick to the plan here and fight this fight straight up. We're not going to use the illithid options for this fight. Wait, did this... Alright, so it's given them a whole extra set of turns. I guess we can use a reaction here. It looks like Flyn is going to go up here and attack Astarion. Alright, so let's take a look at what actually happened there. So the Gnoll jumped up, attacked my character from the high ground with a flail attack. This fight has been pretty buggy, I have to say. Alright, so Flyn was blinded. We hit Flyn for 3 damage. They used Flail of Paralysis from here to attack me here. Used Flail of Paralysis. Attack roll was hit with disadvantage, but they rolled an 11 against our 15 armor class with a +5 strength modifier. That's not a super unlikely hit anyways, although it does feel a little bad. So they were still attacking with disadvantage. I guess they did count as being inside the darkness cloud. We failed a saving throw on our con modifier. Again, not particularly unlikely to fail a DC 18 saving throw. This is definitely going badly, though. And then they made a couple normal attacks, which aren't particularly dangerous. But we've now lost our main character for a turn. I'm going to have to get Lae'zel up here to start hitting Flyn, because the flail of the paralysis attacks are just too dangerous to allow those to continue. And I also want her adjacent so that Astarion can now make sneak attacks. This is definitely not going well, but I think we can still recover from it. So let's make a precision attack here. And a trip attack. 75% to hit is not as good as I would like, but I think that's what we're getting. Alright, so we hit, saved on the trip attack, that's okay. I'm then going to use Action Surge, because I think we need to kill Flyn quickly here. Flyn down to 76 HP, yep. And then... And I didn't want to have her walk up the ladder because I just didn't know how buggy that would be. It's possible I didn't need to use my bonus action to jump and could have had it for an offhand attack or something. But I was very concerned that that would bug out in some way. Also, notice that these guys are not helping at all. Rugen and Ollie haven't done anything. They just went back. I guess because I bought their help rather than asking them to help fight. So we're doing this without their assistance. So a trip attack, 55%. I'm going to use another precision attack because we really need to hit these attacks. And then I think I will use another trip attack. Try to maximize damage. Unfortunately, only 12 damage, which is pretty poor for a greatsword attack here. Very, very poor rolls. But we did get him to 64, her to 64. Now, I can do a main hand attack, a melee sneak attack with my daggers here. Let's maybe back Astarion up just a little bit. If I go back to here, I can try to break line of sight with some of these archers, potentially. And then let's do a sneak attack. 50% to hit. This is very bad. But we have 2 chances at it, and I just need to get a sneak attack. I should do Piercing Strike. I was hoping to trip Flyn before Astarion's attack to make his attacks more likely to land. The not getting to use Piercing Strike on Lae'zel's attacks cost us some damage, but I thought it was more important to try to actually land the attacks. So we miss with that one. Let's do an offhand attack. Both miss, meaning we don't get sneak attack for this turn. Gnoll's taking a little bit of damage. Our main character is definitely going to die because the paralysis. That's just how it works. Let's have Karlach switch back to her sword. I have to say, I've been a little on tilt this fight and have not been playing it perfectly just because so many things went wrong in such weird ways. But that's just something that you have to deal with. So I can move to here and attack. What I would like to do is move to somewhere where I can throw the enemies into the fire, if possible. I don't really care about Karlach going into the fire. Let's have her attack. And we missed, so we'll reckless attack. Alright, we got one. That's one enemy down. So now I can't quite move up to where we could attack again. So I could have her jump into melee range of these Gnoll hunters, who are archer enemies. So I think we are going to do that. I think that's more important than having her help with Flyn or help heal our main character. So I'm going to do this and then just move her up just a little bit. Come on. It would let me do this jump, but it's not letting me jump over them. So let's do this jump. Because I'd like to avoid the fire if we can. And then if we move to here, I believe that will get us into threat range of at least one of them. Yes, okay, good.
No choice but to keep going.
Alright, so now my main character has become unparalyzed somehow. I'm not 100% sure how that happened. Maybe getting attacked? No, we lost the paralyzed condition at the beginning of our turn. Because we were only paralyzed for one turn. Okay. That's fine. I do have Drow Fairy Fire that I could use. That could potentially be pretty powerful, getting us advantage on a bunch of these guys, or advantage on Flyn if I can target it in such a way that only Flyn is in it. I don't want to give Flyn advantage on Lae'zel and Astarion. So I think I'm going to use Fairy Fire on all of these enemies rather than just an Eldritch Blast attack. So let's start with this. Hit a few of them, so we have advantage on some of these attacks. And then it's probably time to start popping potions. So is it Potion of Speed? Yeah, I think Potion of Speed is going to be more useful here. Because we can then also use our extra actions to get out of here. We have 40% at Flyn or low ground. Wait, I'm counting as threatened? Because Flyn is still in melee with me, even from the top of the ladder. Unbelievable that that's how that works, also. So I guess if I move, I'm going to take an opportunity attack, even from the top of the ladder. Which isn't ideal. I could drop a grease. This would... a scroll of grease. This would light all of these guys on fire and maybe prone them. I think that's going to be the best thing we can do here. Using more resources for this fight than I wanted to, but we knocked a couple of them prone. Now they're all on fire. Karlach is still not in the fire, and I can't move because we are threatened by Flyn from the top of the ladder. But that cost the enemies a couple turns. Took a hit from that hyena, that's okay. Another 2 damage hit, and then we lose the Fairy Fire. No, you won't. You aren't doing anything. Oh, here we go. Alright, Rugan is going to help by missing an attack and setting himself on fire. I really need to set Karlach's opportunity attack to Ask. We've got a multi-attack on Lae'zel here. This one is still burning, taking a lot of fire damage. The nice thing is that they are at least taking a lot of fire damage. We may have to use a Revivify on my main character here because things are going quite badly. Let's do a 55% attack on Flyn here, and we'll go ahead and use Lacerate. Okay, got the bleeding. So that was a lucky hit. That definitely gave us some advantages. I could go for a shove to try... I could, if I had known that we were threatened from the top of the ladder, I'd have gone for a shove last turn, probably. Probably just going to do a pummel strike here. Oh, that was a mistake. I should have done Astarion's attacks first, so I could... No, he's already used his piercing attack, so it's fine. Then we'll just have him do his attacks. 60% to hit, so slightly more likely to hit. And the game used my bonus action even though I have it set to not do that. Wow, is this frustrating? I'm running into so many bugs. Yeah, because we have dual wielding toggle to off, so it should not be doing a... When I select main hand attack, it should not be using my offhand attack, which should give us the chance to sneak attack. We then we miss with our main hand attack, hit with our offhand attack, and the game did not give me the opportunity to use sneak attack, even though we have it set to ask every time that's available. Sneak attack should be available because Flynn is threatened. Oh no, Flynn is not showing as threatened because... I think because the game thinks she's down here and doesn't think that Lae'zel is in threat range of her. So I guess that's part of the same bug that Astarion was not getting the opportunity to sneak attack. If I move very slightly over with Lae'zel, does that give us threatened on Flynn? Yeah, so if Flynn was being threatened, then it would show up in the conditions tab, which would allow Astarion to sneak attack her. As is, unfortunately, the game thinks she's down here somewhere because of the buggy movement that we got earlier, and so she is not threatened and thus not getting sneak attacked. It does mean that I can move Astarion out of this area because he's not threatened, so this shouldn't trigger sneak attack if I just back him away. And then maybe later I can have him hide and do a cunning action sneak attack. So I guess I'll take advantage of that because I might as well get some advantage out of what's happening here. These guys are going to die to the fire damage, so I don't really need to worry about them. I'm going to have Karlach hit one of these hyenas. Like this one. Didn't quite kill it, but I should be able to kill it by using a throw at the other one. We'll see if this works. I don't want to use a second attack because I don't want to fatigue her yet, so we're going to go with the throws. So that knocks the other enemy prone and kills that one and does a bunch of damage. And then I could have her run through fire to get into melee range of these ranged enemies. That's a little bit of damage to Karlach, but an attack of opportunity on one of those guys is worth it. Let's also set up her reactions tab properly while I'm thinking about it. There we go. This is one of the buggiest fights I've ever had in Baldur's Gate, so I think I'm going to place her next to this guy. She'll take a fire damage, but she's resistant to fire. Now this hunter is threatened, at least, which will make it less able to attack. That one Ollie kills a hunter. That's good. Failed a death save. That guy missed on Karlach. The hyena had to get up and then had to dash to get into range, and so sets itself on fire. Flynn, yeah, so you can see Flynn had to come up from the bottom of the ladder because the game thought she was down there. Rugen continuing to set himself on fire. And then we had trapped this hunter in the corner. He should have shoved before trying to shoot, but that's okay. So now I'm going to make an attack on Flynn, which misses, and then attempt to shove, I think. I don't want to shove Flynn into the pit, but this should be a little bit of damage at least. Alright, athletics failed, that's fine. Now you can see, now that the game knows Flynn is actually at the top of the ladder, she's properly threatened by Lae'zel. Lae'zel's attacks both failed that round, but that's fine. Now the question is, I could have Astarion try to hide. I could also have him just run up and make 2 attacks. And I think I'm going to have him make attacks. That means we get 2 chances to get our sneak attack off, which is important this fight. Once again, it did the dual wielding, but at least we got to do the sneak attack. I've got to fix this. Dual wielding somehow. I don't know why it's broken right now, but it's very annoying that he's using both attacks, because it's very possible, in fact it's extremely likely, that if our first attack had hit there, we'd have wanted to bonus action disengage away from Flyn, so that she couldn't then hit Astarion again. Or she couldn't then hit Astarion on her turn. So the fact that we didn't get the opportunity to do that could have been bad for us. Karlach running out of HP a little bit, but has the opportunity to maybe just chase down this Gnoll hunter. See if we can jump to somewhere where there's no fire. If I'm up here, does that still threaten the hunter? Can I hit the hunter from here? The other question is it better to just run through a bunch of flames in order to get into melee and still have our bonus action to attack? I think that's going to be a lot of fire damage that we would take. Although I could then use a potion if the damage ends up being too high. Karlach is starting to get to the point where if this Flesh Gnawer hits a couple attacks, though, that she's going to go down. So I think it's better to avoid taking the damage. We'll jump to here. I think that will put us, yeah, where we can attack without having to move. Didn't get to use our bonus action attack from being a barbarian that turn, from being a berserker that turn, but that's okay. And then we'll have her move back down a little ways to get back into range of the combat as much as possible, while also trying not to jump into this fire. Then we'll pass the turn, see if Ollie can kill that hyena. Alright, Ollie tries to get killed by taking an attack of opportunity, but does kill the hyena. Succeeded a death save at least. Lae'zel goes down, which is a problem. Sick, because now I don't have sneak attack easily available.
On my way.
Oop, that I accidentally clicked. Alright, I did not mean to take that attack of opportunity on Astarion there. But I guess what we're going to do is have him run away, try to hide. So I misclicked that, unfortunately. This is less a how-to fight in Baldur's Gate and more a how to deal with things when things are going badly in Baldur's Gate. Maybe I'll pitch the pitch it that way. Spotted by Flyn because Flint has dark vision, so we are not going to be able to get a sneak attack, so we'll go for piercing shot, I guess. Although we're not hitting her again this round because Karlach's already taken her turn, right? No, Karlach hasn't. Piercing shot lasts for 2 turns anyways, so it's probably worth doing this. Do I want to hit with an arrow of acid? It would acid Lae'zel. But the acid itself... So the acid would cause some additional damage to Lae'zel. I don't think we can afford that. Let's just do this. Take our 50% shot and hope for the best. Didn't quite get there. What I should have done is bonus action disengage or dash. And then we're going to have Karlach just finish this guy off if possible. Alright, we're going to have to make our Frenzied Strike. It's okay to be taking this to hit penalty at this late stage of the battle. If we're lucky, these two can do Alright, Astarion gets one tapped by Flyn there. Can Karlach get in range? Not easily, so we need to make sure that she gets to attack or she's going to lose her frenzy. So we have to take a piercing shot from somewhere. So let's try to have her go to here. Had to use a Revivify scroll. I think things would not be going so badly without all these bugs, but that's okay. I'm going to just take this shot. This isn't really an attempt to hit. It's just to make sure we don't lose frenzy. Okay, well, fair enough. And then I don't think there's anything I can throw at Flynn from here. So we'll just jump forwards with our bonus action. Can we get to the high ground, actually? That would be nice. We cannot get to the high ground, but I can get to here. Alright, set Flynn on fire. Push him. Now, can Karlach get to a melee attack right away? Yes. Alright, let's give that a try. Alright, the game says we can do that, but
Count on me.
then when I click it, it doesn't let me. Tried to reckless attack. I'm going to go for a frenzied strike here as well. Little unlucky on those. It's possible now that we lose if Flynn hits Karlach. Alright, but critical hit from Ollie saves the day. Let me go ahead and get my party up. Well, at least both of those guys survived. And let's get Astarion. And we'll use one of our scrolls of Revivify, unfortunately.
The rest of our crew's half digested. You're still alive.
Too much to bear. Can't give up now.
Alright, well, this was more of a study in how not to fight a Baldur's Gate encounter, although I will say that the games, some of the quirks of the video game screwing me over in terms of bugs, positioning bugs, the combat starting in real time, so I would have had to click really fast in order for Astarion to actually make his attack, definitely put me in a hole. Then I had one misclick. A couple other things I could have done better, just in general, are the darkness spell was fine, although I wanted to place that further back where Flynn couldn't get into melee range and hit my main character immediately. She was too far forward in the darkness spell, rather than being where Lae'zel was. It would have been fine if another character had gotten hit and we'd maintained concentration on the darkness. We actually would have won that fight fairly easily, I think. So even though a lot of things went wrong and this fight was pretty close, there was definitely stuff I could have done better to avoid this outcome, but we made it through, and so the honor mode playthrough continues. And yeah, I hope that you enjoyed this video. This is hopefully not a look at things to come, because this was not my finest hour. But as always, my friends, I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you have, do please feel free to leave a comment, like the video, and of course you can subscribe to my channel for more Baldur's Gate and other strategy game content. Cheers, friends. I'll catch you next time.